Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Kit Webster, founder and CEO of Effective AI Solutions, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Kit. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, before we dive into all things business, I'd love to kind of set the stage for the audience. So feel free to share a bit about yourself and a little backstory on the business.
Well, you can tell by the gray hair that there's a long story, so I'll keep it short. Uh, Spent effectively all my life in Texas, born and raised in Georgia. Master's degree in double E. I have a CPA, so that's an unusual combination. I've spent my life with one foot in tech and one foot in finance or running companies. I have formed companies. I've done startups. I've raised money. I've done M&A. So it's been a long journey. And then about a year and a half ago, I saw AI coming up and it sounded really exciting. So I decided to jump on the bandwagon, learn as much about AI as I could, and then use my background as someone who has started and run companies to help other people with the challenges of AI, not so much from a technical perspective, although there's always the technical perspective, but the bigger issue is the strategy. What should I do? Why should I do it? When should I do it? What are the dangers? What are the opportunities? And so that's what I'm focusing on.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And so, where were you? What were you working on? And you mentioned other businesses. What were you doing before you got into AI?
Well, I've been working for myself for the last, I don't know, 15 years or something like that. So I've been doing financial consulting and M&A. So mostly finance related things.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, now looking at your role in the company, are there other investors or other partners involved or employees? What does that look like?
It's just me. And then what I do is I go to independent contractors to help me with when I've got too much to do to help me put together the technical solutions that we come up with for our customers.
Okay, wonderful. And as a startup and in like starting up a new company, tell me about your role currently. What does your day-to-day look like? Is it ever changing? Is there consistency?
Well, every startup is just uncontrolled chaos. It's every day is a new day. Interrupts occur at random. Crises pop up. So I very carefully plan my day, and that's exactly what's not going to happen. Uh, so I devote my day to marketing, uh, which is a big issue, and then to helping architect and put together the technical solutions for customers.
Okay, you mentioned marketing's a big issue. That's something a lot of business owners struggle with. So, care to elaborate on what's kind of like been that hang up with marketing?
Well, it's like every other business. I'm out there, and what I've got to do is make myself known, differentiate myself, convince people that they should work with me, give my value proposition. It's all classic marketing. And what I've got to do is break into a new market, and a market that basically didn't exist, 6 months or a year ago. And so it's not only selling myself, it's explaining AI, it's explaining the value proposition, not only for me, but for AI as a whole, because some companies have tried it and failed. As a matter of fact, there was a famous survey by MIT, I think a couple of months ago, where they said, I don't know, 50, 60, 70% of people were failing at AI. But that's just because you just don't dive in. You go find yourself somebody to help and to find the solutions that are going to be the right solutions for you, and then hold your hand through it. It's like if you're take a domestic example, plumbing breaks. Well, I can do it myself, or Probably not. What I need, if I'm going to do it myself, I'm going to need somebody to show me what to do, give me the tools and those kinds of things.
Definitely. That makes so much sense, especially with like all that's on the horizon with AI. Kind of like getting it back to the business and like your day to day. If I were to give you an extra 10 hours in your day, where would you put them? Would you put them in the business and personal life or a mix of both?
Well, personal life's really important to me, so I would mix both. I taught entrepreneurship at the University of Texas Business School, and one of the things that I addressed to my class was the whole personal business proposition is a real challenge at any stage of the company because I've been CEO of multi-million dollar companies, so I've gone from startups to successful companies, and I don't remember a time when I wasn't working a lot. So you've got to discipline yourself. And startups worse. Start because you just don't you're looking for success. It's hard to come by, and every hour you don't spend trying to get that success is one that you're losing, and you're very aware of that. And so what you do is you tend to spend, in my mind, too much time on business. So you have to plan. You have to just say, okay, uh, 2, 3 hours a day is for my wife and family. Uh, Saturday night's date night. You just have to insist and discipline yourself to get that to happen.
Definitely. That's really a golden nugget of this conversation for, myself and other entrepreneurs to hear as well. And so, thank you for sharing that. Now, looking at the like where you're growing in business, are you planning to hire or are you planning to like what does expansion look like for you as you roll into the year here?
Well, it's going to be a fairly classic path. I'm going to use independent contractors until the level of business gets solid enough to bring on somebody full time, probably somebody that has a specific technical skill that is needed, and then continue growing with contractors and then filling back in with employees. And that would be my preferred growth path.
Okay, okay, wonderful. And every business owner that I talk to is going through something, obviously you've mentioned a couple of the things, just being in a startup with and working on marketing. But what is something that you're challenged with now within this new season that you're currently working through?
Well, the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges with AI beyond the marketing, is that it's just changing so fast. And so not only do I spend time with technical things and with marketing things, but education is really, really important because it's changing and because I want to bring the greatest value I can to my customers. So I need to be up on a lot of things. So I pretty much spend my mornings I devote to education and then my afternoons to the business. And then I segment that in terms of, well, really what has to be done, but in theory, both marketing and technical things. And then it just repeats itself.
Definitely. Now, marketing strategy is a unique thing for each business. What are strategies you're using? Are you going more like referral based or webinar based or SEO? Any of those?
Everything.
All the things.
So direct email, I do some articles on LinkedIn. Uh, I haven't yet begun doing podcasts and YouTubes, but those are coming. The idea is basically marketing by getting my name out. And then what I want to do is, I think the primary real growth potential is through referrals. And so that's going to be where I think the growth is going to come in. But the name recognition is going to be important too.
Definitely. And what are your goals with that, say in the next 6 to 12 months?
My goals, Okay, I'm going to have to say it out loud because if I don't say it out loud, then I can fool myself, right? I want to have, I want to be, I want to be working with 20 contractors. I want to have 40 customers, and I want them to be using both my consulting services and my technical solutions.
Oh, wonderful. That's a great goal. That is a great goal. And expanding ahead beyond the 12 months, where do you see the company reaching to in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, the good thing about AI is the sky's the limit right now. I believe this is a genuine revolution. I'm one of those people that thinks this is on par with the Industrial Revolution. Now, problems, uh, all kinds of things in the way. It's not going to go well. Stock collapse, all kinds of things are going to occur. But just think back to the great financial crisis, or even before that, to the collapse of e-commerce in 2000, 2001. Uh, there were bad things, but then they ultimately grew and they grew tremendously. So the opportunities are just huge. So what I want to do then is to begin affiliating myself with other companies. In other words, growing through either acquisition or affiliation, but basically, this is going to be a very large space, and I'm not going to be able to cover it all by myself. Today, I can do it. In the future, it's not going to work. So, what I'm going to need to do is be part of or run an organization that is able to address multiple segments of the overall business.
Definitely, definitely. Now, this is a fun question. So if we met and had a conversation 5 years from now and you were grinning ear to ear, what would you be telling me about your business?
And I had a lot of fun.
That is the best. I love that answer. So
That's that's
oh,
why
go
I'm
ahead.
here. Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's why I'm here. I mean, my goal in life right now, you talk about life work balance. Well, there's also uh, what are you going to do when you're working? And are you going to enjoy it? Is it going to be a drudge? And part of life's drudgery. I mean, you can't get away from it. But my goal is to have fun. And right now, I'm having about as much fun as I've had in a long time.
That's so good to hear. And when you think about the business and having fun, this is perfect into my next question. What does this unlock for you personally? Like when you get there, when you're at that place, you're like having fun, the business is growing. What's that do for you?
I'm dealing with people. I'm helping them solve their problems. And I am enjoying the learning of keeping up with technology. Those would be the three things that would define fun for me.
Ah, that's wonderful. And you mentioned family earlier. So, what would this mean for your family and friends in your community?
Well, I think the big thing is that my wife and I share a lot. We've been married a long time. We have an extremely good marriage, and so what we're doing is we're excuse me, experiencing each other's journeys. And so she's is invested in my, I don't know, success slash enjoyment as I am. So that's a very good thing. Now, my son, actually introduced him to AI, and he introduced his company to AI. And so we spend a couple hours a week talking about how to best implement AI for his company. And so I'm happy that's giving me yet another opportunity to be with him.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And when you look at where you are now and you're in this first year and where you want to be in 5 years, what is the biggest obstacle like in that gap between there? Like, what would you say right now is your biggest obstacle getting there?
Time,
What was it?
time.
Mm-hmm.
I think time, I think AI has some. obstacles too. Uh, there are a lot of surveys now that say the public is not favorable to AI, and that's going to have some feedback and cause some issues. And I don't know whether it causes issues with business owners or not, but business owners are people, and so they're looking at AI skeptically in the same way the public is. So it's not. I think the biggest obstacle I'm going to face, or the obstacles AI is going to face, where's the electricity going to come from? If we really do start replacing jobs, if people get irritated and there's a political backlash, what happens then? What
Mm.
happens if the government decides to regulate it? I think all of these things are going to be the primary obstacles that I'm going to face. I've been in the trenches long enough, and I've fought enough battles, and I've got enough wounds that I can say, I'll face anything, and I'm ready for it. But there will be obstacles, and there will be hard times, and we're just going to find a way around them.
Definitely. Yeah, that is a very true statement. And like when you imagine the version of the business that is finally working and everything's resolved in the way you want it to be, what does life look like outside of business for you?
I don't see that ever occurring, actually. I think this is so big, and there's going to be so much chaos that the whole concept of settling down isn't there. But what I hope I will have accomplished in managing whatever is going on is I can look back with satisfaction at the customers that I've helped, at the growth that we've had, and that the experience that I've been able to have. So it all circles back to that same definition of, well, we called it fun, fulfillment, that kind of a thing. And if I accomplish that, then it's all good.
Definitely. I want to learn a little bit more about you, taking us back to, you've been in entrepreneurship for a while. What made you choose to go into business for yourself?
Just like it. I found out very early in my career, the very first company I joined was a startup, and it was in tech. And what I learned was I just have an appetite for risk. I have a personality that I don't react much. I don't generate a lot of stomach acid. I'm able to take stress uh, pretty well. And so I've just fit nicely into the startup entrepreneur slot. And as a matter of fact, I've I determined some time ago that $100,000 in revenues is where companies become way too bureaucratic for me, and I need to go somewhere else. So
Mm.
it's a personality thing. You just look at yourself and say, am I ready? Am I willing to put up with what it takes to get it done? And I decided I was.
That's very powerful and very like um inspiring. And so like when you look back, you mentioned that there's a lot of things that can happen in business. What is the most like one of the most memorable roadblocks that you overcame?
I spent well, there've been technical roadblocks, but that's pretty dull. I've part of my career I've spent in turning companies around. And companies don't come and see you unless they're in serious trouble. And so the obstacles that I faced of doing that, actually being able to turn a company around that was dead is a lot of fun. But going back to maybe AI and computers and a technical thing, uh, I I programmed some I did some programming for some of NASA's experiments that went into space. And that was all groundbreaking stuff. In other words, it had never been done before. So the big technical obstacle for me was to figure out how to solve the problem and then how to conceptually solve the problem and then how to get it implemented on a computer. So that has a lot of parallels with AI in that what I'm doing today is the same thing. I'm looking at a problem, I'm thinking about how to solve it, and then how to move it into AI.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And now I want to dive into like who your company best serves. So, if I walked through your doors or checked you out online and I was looking for your services, how would I know I would be a great fit?
You'd be a great fit if you've got a business at all. If you're doing less than, say, $30 million in revenue, I am addressing my uh, I'm addressing my services to what's called small and medium-sized businesses, and this is actually the small end of small in business because that's where I think I can do the best. I think that's where I can provide the best value. And so if somebody came in and say, "Well, I've got a $50 million business, but I like what you're saying, and I want to do it," I'll be glad to help. But they wouldn't receive an email from me if I was putting together an email to send out a cold email. I'd be addressing, say, 30 million and below. The industry really doesn't matter that much. I've been involved in so many industries that, again, I've been from high tech to high finance, and so I can conceptualize what most businesses do, and if I can't, then I can get a partner in that can help me do it. So it's more a size thing.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. And what is one thing you wish more people knew about your business?
Just how fantastic the solutions can be and how many obstacles there are to effectively implementing them.
Definitely, definitely. Well, now we're getting towards the end of our conversation, so I want to take us through a fun part of the conversation called our rapid fire Q&A. Well, I'll be asking you four questions and you answer very top of mind.
I'm ready.
All right. Question number one is what is a key to success for you?
Hard work and a lot of thought.
Definitely. Number two is what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Understand what AI can do for you. Understand that this is a revolution. There are tremendous opportunities here.
Definitely agree there too. Now, what is either a podcast or a book that you're really into right now?
Oh, okay, we're going to change entirely. I'm a big fan of the Rest is History podcast.
Nice.
I've been a history buff all my life, and so I came upon the Rest of History podcast. I've got some financial podcasts and others and technical podcasts. I'm a podcast listener, but that's my main go-to right now.
That is fun. It's sometimes nice to get like a little something outside of the work to kind of just indulge and enjoy. And the final question in our rapid fire, if I had a bit of magic dust and you could sprinkle it on one aspect of your business to improve it overnight, what would it be?
Marketing.
Marketing. Honest. I love
It
it.
all goes back to when I was teaching entrepreneurship again. Uh, I had to focus on when you're raising money, you've got to understand how much money is going to cost to do marketing. You have to understand how big the challenge is. It doesn't matter whether you've got the best widget in the whole world. If people don't know about it or they're not convinced, it's not going to work. So the whole key, it's because I'll be a little bit cocky here. I got the technical thing down. So we can solve the technical problems, but what I've got to do is get my message out.
Mm, that is so profound. And thank you for sharing that. Well, let's help you kick that off on the show. How can people connect with you and your company online?
Well, the name of my company is Effective AI Solutions. So it's effectiveaisolutions.com. and kit@effectiveaisolutions.com. And right there, you can schedule a time appointment, no obligation, just to sit down and talk over things and decide whether it's worthwhile to jump in.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kit. Before we wrap up for the day, final question is, what is most inspiring to you today?
What's most inspiring to me today? Uh, you know, what's inspiring to me? Okay, I'm also on Twitter, X, and there's just some personal stories that show up of people who have overcome real obstacles. Obstacles, you ask me about my obstacles in my life. I've led a great life. And, when I think of obstacles, I'm not thinking about their kind those are real obstacles that those people have. And then when I see how they've worked and to overcome them and have built a life after doing that, that's where I get a lot of inspiration.
That is powerful. And same, those stories always bring like a tear to my eye.
Sometimes they bring tears to your eyes, and but it's just amazing what people can do.
Truly. Well, Kit, this was an inspiring episode. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me on the show today.
Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to crossing paths later.